10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Good evening, everybody. Welcome to another episode of Uncommon Sense with Jose Negron. Now, for the benefit of those of you who are not familiar with the channel or watching this channel for the first time, the reason why it is called Uncommon Sense because on this platform, we discuss everyday issues where we try to find logical solutions, but not everyone uses logic. So that reason it is called Uncommon Sense. I also have another channel called Latina Diaspora when I discuss issues regarding Latinos in the United States. The link to that channel is in the description. I want to let everybody know that I'm currently live on YouTube, Facebook, and Instagram. Also, the subscriber mode has been enabled for the first 5 minutes. Meaning, if you're not a subscriber and if you wish to enter a comment in the chat, you need to subscribe to the channel. As always, I want to give a huge shout out to all those who have already subscribed to the channel. Whether you've been there from the very beginning or just recently joined as late as today, I really appreciate your love and your continued support. Also, I want to give a huge shout out to all those who follow me on social media, as well as those who allow me to enter into your devices, as well as those who watch from the clouds, even the haters. So, what I'm going to ask you to do, if you have not done so already, I'm going to ask you to please subscribe, like, and set the bell notifications to all. So, therefore, whenever I do produce content, you will have the opportunity to catch it live or catch it on the playback. Now, as you can see by the thumbnail, the topic is how to avoid avoiding toxic people. So basically, is what is the most effective way of dealing with these people that no matter what you say or what you do, they always have to be negative, they always have to be problematic and toxic behavior. And sometimes it's best just to avoid these people altogether or minimize your presence with these individuals. Before we continue, we're going to have another episode of In My Words. This month will mark it 4 years exactly that I have been a serious content creator. And of course, I have always tried to create a platform when everyone is allowed to express their point of views as they see fit, as long as we all respect each other's viewpoints. We may always agree, and then many times we will disagree. But one of the things that I have enjoyed about this platform is our ability to agree, or more correctly, our ability to be agreeable when we disagree. Okay, this has never been, no, will never will be an echo chamber. People are allowed to have their own point of views, and sometimes, um, if we're tolerant, we can learn through disagreement. We can learn and we can analyze other points of views that that we may never consider. And of course, now that we're in August, meaning that we are approaching 2/3 of the year. Okay. Of course, this has been a very interesting year. It's been a crazy year. Consider especially in the world politics with the policies regarding the current administration. Okay. And of course, we don't know what will happen in the future. What we do know is that we cannot control what other people say or do. But each one of us can individually control what's going to be reaction to the words and action of others. And the reality is that there are people who are controversial, people who go negative, people who paint a false narrative. They do so mainly to try to create a response. And the more that we respond to what other people say and do, the more they are important to react the way that they do act. So the best thing when it comes to dealing with such individuals is to ignore them. Sometimes it's easier said than done. I get it. But for people that crave attention, the worst thing you can do is ignore them. Now, sometimes the people will escalate things. Sometimes they try to dox you. Sometimes they try to paint even worse narratives. Okay, but when everything is said and done, again, you cannot control what other people say or do. You control what's going to be your response. Okay. And I'm not going to lie, there have been certain people that used to visit this platform that have not visited this platform for months. I do miss them, but I also understand that people have other lives, people have responsibilities, things of that nature. And one thing we have to understand is that amount of your time, okay, creating content. Because the fact of the matter is, and I take pride in what we do, and we want to create content that people will enjoy, that people will view. Okay. And again, we cannot control what when other people hop on. But who wish to hop on live will do so. Those who wish to watch it on the playback will do so. Those that choose not to do the either, there's nothing we can do. Okay. And at times, there have been content creators who have pandered to certain segments of of the viewing public for many reasons. Okay. Basically, to get clicks and views. The clicks and views are going to come naturally. Okay. Um, there's going to be weeks where there's going to be content where people are basically uh, not, not only watching it but sharing the content as well. And there's going to be weeks where it's not going to be a greater activity. So it really, it brings us to sit down and analyze, and maybe, we should focus on other topics, or maybe it could be the way that we are presenting the content. Maybe we're doing it in ways where it's not effective. In either case, those content creators who have been able to adapt and change, they do well. Those that don't. It is that simple. Now, with that being said, we're going to get into the main topic. Before I continue, let me just state for the record that the link to join the panel has been pinned. Should anyone wishes to hit that link and opine regarding the topic at hand, they may do so. As always, let me just state that if I never see you before, if I never heard from you before, I will insist that you come up in the backstage to make sure that no one flashes anything inappropriate, especially when it comes to genitalia, which will cause the people of YouTube to take down their stream. And of course, there's always those individuals that try to put links to porn on the channel, okay, with the hope that people will click on, and then YouTube will take down the stream as well. I have been fortunate that no one has tried to do that to me. Okay. Now, once I do see that you are not going to do anything, crazy or what have you, I will allow you on the platform. Okay. Now, let me just check. No, just give me one, see if there's anyone. Okay. No, I think what we will need to do is, excuse excuse me. First of all, what we're going to do is we're going to define what is actually toxic behavior. Okay. And it's defined as the following. Toxic behavior refers to actions or patterns of interactions that are harmful, hurtful, or negative towards others, often resulting in emotional distress or damage to relationships. It encompasses a range of behaviors from subtle manipulation to overt aggression and can be present in various relationships, including personal, professional, and family. Okay. Now I'm going to share with you uh, examples of typical toxic behavior. Controlling and manipulative behaviors. They are those who are trying to control others by using guilt trips or playing on emotions to get what they want. Another example of toxic behavior is constant criticizing and belittling, making someone feel bad about themselves through negative comments and judgment. Emotional abuse, using tactics like gaslighting, withholding affection, or engaging in emotional blackmail. Lack of empathy and self centeredness, being unable to understand or share the feelings of others or constantly focus on one own needs and desires. So what I'm doing is right now I am defining what some examples of toxic behavior. Because here on this platform, we're not just going to name something. We're going to give it a full definition of what it is. So the last line I stated was lack of empathy and self-centeredness, which is being unable to understand or share the feelings of others or constantly focus on one's own needs and desires. Aggression and anger outbursts, engaging in physical and verbal aggression or having unpredictable and volatile anger. Dishonesty and manipulation, lying, cheating, or engaging in other deceptive behaviors. Blaming and the victim mentality, refusing to take responsibility for actions and portraying oneself as the victim. So we have a trigger word: accountability. Withholding support and affection. Intentionally withdrawing emotional support or affection to punish or control. Now I'm going to identify toxic behavior. Constant negativity, a tendency to focus on the negative and complain frequently. Lack of accountability, the inability to take responsibility for one's actions and mistakes. Okay, because for these type of individual responsibility and accountability are like kryptonite. Emotional volatility, rapid and unpredictable changes in mood and behavior. Jealousy and possessiveness, excessive jealousy and attempt to control the actions of others. Difficult with boundaries. This is the inability to respect personal boundaries and space. Okay? What that means is basically people approaching you in times when it's not appropriate, people approaching you when you are engaged in other things and they expect you to drop everything just to deal with their issues alone. Now, there are certain things we can do when it comes to dealing with toxic people. The first thing is to set boundaries. Clearly define what behaviors are unacceptable and communicate those boundaries to the person. No. Number two, limit contact. Reduce or eliminate contact with the toxic individual if possible. Seek support. Talk to a trusted friend, a family member, or therapist about the situation. Okay. So in this case, she's asking someone to be like like an impartial third party, um, to see if whatever issues can be resolved. Protect yourself. Focus on your own well-being and mental health, and don't allow the toxic behavior to negatively impact you. And for those individuals that that do need um, assistance, if the toxic behavior is severe or abusive, seek professional help from a therapist or counselor. It is important to remember that toxic behavior can be harmful and have lasting effects on individuals and relationships. Recognizing the sign of toxicity and taking steps to protect yourself is crucial to maintaining your well-being. So what we just did is we just defined what is toxic behavior and how to deal with it. Okay. Now what I'm going to do is so now I'm going to share hopefully my screen. Now this image that hopefully it will load comes from a website known as Cornerstone Healing Center. And it lists 8 essential tips for dealing with toxic people around you. And of course, it starts out by saying dealing with toxic people is one of the most painful obstacles to in recovering process. You can restart the journey to find your own purpose in life if you hold on to past negative influence. However, managing toxic relationships is difficult, even when you know they harm you, your mental health, and well-being. Thankfully, setting boundaries in unhealthy relations is possible with the right strategies. So what we're going to do is we're going to define the strategies to deal with these people because sometimes these they're people would you have to have some interaction, but the thing is to navigate how to deal with those people in your life that are toxic. So the first thing is, and some of it it's going to be a repeat. Identify toxic behaviors. Overlooking toxic emotional relationship is tricking. Overcoming toxic emotional relationships is tricky without knowing what to look for. Recognizing what makes a behavior toxic is the first step to effectively dealing with unhealthy relationships. And here are some examples. Manipulation manifests as blame, guilt, shame, passive aggressive behaviors, silent treatment, victim mentality, or blaming the victim. Excessive negativity occurs when people fail to see a positive spin on everything, including work, friendships, relationships, or hobbies. Emotional abuse includes non physical behaviors aimed at control, such as fear, isolation, threats, constant monitoring, insults, jealousy, humiliation, intimidation, and manipulation. Number two, excuse me. Ah. Practice emotional detachment. Emotional detachment is one of the reasons to unhappy relationship longer than we should. However, toxic behavior can cause elevated levels of stress, which are proven to result in long-term adverse effects. Studies on stress affects the structure found that prolonged stress can lead to severe and even permanent damage to the brain. During recovery, you're already healing from an emotional trauma. Avoiding becoming emotionally tangled when dealing with toxic people is especially important. Emotional detachment include holding others accountable and not being responsible for their emotions. It also means staying calm, ignoring negative arguments, and refusing to engage in toxic conversations. Set clear boundaries. Setting boundaries with people who display toxic behavior gives you a significant advantage during recovery. First, you're less likely to abandon your strategies and goals for the sake of another. Second, setting boundaries empowers you to take accountability for yourself and provide a sense of confidence when facing future obstacles. To start, here's some tips for communication boundaries. Be deliberate and proactive in not engaging in toxic behavior. Enforce your boundaries and define them clearly. Communicate consequences for crossing boundaries. Prepare in your boundaries to be tested. Stay consistent and firm and hold your boundaries. Practice self-care to stay mentally strong. So these are communication techniques. Now, whenever is possible, try to limit your contact with people who exhibit toxic behavior. Even if you communicate and set clear boundaries when dealing with toxic people, they may refuse to respect them. This is part of the process and not altogether uncommon. Rebuilding trust and relationship in recovery is not always possible. In these cases, beneficial in your journey to limit your contact with toxic people or distance yourself. The act of limited contact distance yourself may include blocking a cell phone number, blocking or controlling social media accounts, refraining from sending emails, avoiding specific places, or being pulled into a crisis. Choose to spend time with more trusted people and not checking for unwanted contact months later. Now, here's a quick tip in avoiding engaging in arguments. When dealing with toxic people, arguments are often negative, escalate negativity and stress. Instead of getting pulled into a conflict, remain calm and set boundaries by walking away or changing the subject. Engage in arguments only drains your emotional energy. Protect your peace by avoiding unnecessary confrontations. Number five, surround yourself with positive people, with supportive people. Overcoming toxic behavior relationships can be heartbreaking, especially with friends or family. Create a solid support system can help buffer the impact of leaving toxic relationships, easing you through this transition. Your support system should consist of multiple people who see you for what you are and cheer you on. Positive support will offer you words of praise, acknowledge your perspective and achievement, use uplifting language, and listen to your struggles. If you need some help building support system, consider seeking additional help through mental health treatment programs. The next thing is practice self-care and emotional healing. Dealing with toxic people is stressful, but also leaving them. With this process, you can experience mental, physical, and emotional fatigue unlike ever before. Toxic relationships hit you at your core. So self-care essential during emotional healing to counteract negative feelings. Make time for yourself and give yourself some grace in dealing with healing. There is no wrong way to do it. Self-care techniques can vary from yoga, meditation, Reiki, and other spiritual guided outlines routines to make a new book, watching your favorite TV movie, taking a bath, or cooking a warm meal. Whatever healthy activity that recenters your body on self-care. And as always, if you need professional help, by all means seek it. Dealing with toxic people is not always straightforward. Sometimes toxic people can stand in the way of placing boundaries. Other times your investment may seem too deep. If you feel that breaking free from an unhealthy relationship and impacting your mental health, try seeking additional professional support. One thing we have to bear in mind is that in the case where you have to like end relationship with other people due to the toxicity and due to the fact that they would not respect your boundaries, it's not always easy, but it's necessary in order for you to deal with toxic behavior. Now, sometimes toxic behavior stand in the way of placing boundaries and intimidations. Other times, your investment may seem to be too deep. Now, if you're feeling the breaking down from unhealthy relationship is affecting your mental health, try seeking additional professional support. This could mean joining a support group, trying individual cognitive behavior things, or practicing and other mental health programs. Virtual options such as okay, so these are virtual options. And the last thing is good evening, Irby. Thank you very much for stopping by. So tonight's topic is avoiding toxic people. So the last thing you need to do is let go and prioritize yourself. It's common to feel guilt, shame, and regret when coming out of toxic relationships. The most important thing from stop is dealing with toxic behavior is realizing that it's not your fault. The truth is most toxic behavior seem healthy in the beginning. These relationships are the start is fulfilling and exciting. It's the only way it's only after we've been hurt and can identify toxic traits that we see the red flags. Be patient without without yourself being part of the recovery journey. Toxic people will always be around. Prioritizing yourself and healing will make you more equipped to deal with it effectively. Now we're going to be dealing with the impact of toxic behavior people on mental health. During recovery, you need the strength and support you will get. This life-changing transition is one of the most important you will go through. It's vital to provide your mental and well-being. Toxic individuals will only draw on that. Unhealthy relationships can have severe impacts on your mental health and other and hinder progress in your healing journey. And here are some of the consequences: eroding self-esteem, elevated stress levels, feelings of depletion, increasing anxiety and depression, confusion or self-doubt. Okay, so right now, for the benefit of those who are not who are just tuning in, we're dealing with toxic behavior to avoid if we wish to avoid it. And now I'm talking about what are the consequences of dealing with toxic behavior, which is eroding self-esteem, elevated stress levels, feeling of desolation, increasing anxiety and depression, confusion, and all self-doubt. Now, sometimes dealing with toxic people can be people that's in your own family. Okay, so now we're going to discuss how to deal with those toxic family members. Dealing with toxic family members can be particularly challenging due to the close of the unavoidable return of these relationships. Unlike other toxic men relationship, family ties can be even harder to set boundaries without feeling of guilt or pressure. Yes, these people will try to create a feeling of guilt by enforcing your actions, um, dealing with people who are toxic. And here's some strategies to help you to deal with toxic people who are family members. Set clear boundaries, decide what behaviors you and you will not tolerate, and communicate these boundaries respectfully with family. Limit contact. When possible, reduce the amount of time spent with toxic family members to protect your inner peace. Another thing too that you can do is stay calm. Reacting emotionally can escalate situation. Practicing staying composed to avoid feeding, feeding, feeding into negative support patterns. Seek support. Lean on friends or support groups or therapists who can advise and provide you with eternal priorities. Now, here are some frequently asked questions. How can we set boundaries with toxic people? Setting involves being clear about what your limits and communicating them effectively. Secondly, let the toxic people know that what behavior is unacceptable and what consequences will follow if these boundaries are not crossed. Constantly enforcing these limits help protect your mental health and will reduce the impact of their toxic behavior. Why emotional detachment is important when dealing with toxic people. Emotional attachment is crucial because it helps you to avoid being emotionally manipulated or affected by toxic person's negativity. By not engaging on an emotional level, you preserve your own peace and prevent yourself from becoming reactive, allowing you to handle situations more effectively, calmly, and effectively. Now, here's another question. What should I do if my boundaries are repeatedly disrespected? And here's the things to consider. Recognize toxic behavior to address them effectively. Practice emotional detachment to protect your mental health. Set clear boundaries and enforce them effectively. Limit contact with toxic people when necessary. Surround yourself with a support group, network, practice self-care in recovering from emotional stress, and seek professional help if toxic relationship impact on your mental health. Now we're going to be focusing on let go of toxic behavior and prioritize your mental health. Managing toxic relationships with the right strategies can protect your mental health and emotional health long term. Setting boundaries, practicing self care, and connecting with personal and professional support are essential. There is nothing wrong with the prioritize your well being and you. Okay, so we're gonna park it here. So as you can see, these are some strategies on how to deal with toxic people, which include one things, setting boundaries, limiting your content, and if necessary, to avoid them altogether. So let's see. Just give me a moment. So now I'm going to share another article, and I think I'm going to call it a night. So now I'm going to do, okay. So now I'm going to share my screen one more time. Oh boy. Anyway. So now I'm going to share, hopefully. Okay, just give me a moment. Okay. So I came across this article, and we're going to proceed to the actual topic. Is why it's important to cut toxic people out of your life. So Well, toxic personalities and dysfunctional relationships and situations that they create has been around forever. Recognizing them, managing them, and when necessary, ending them are crucial life skills. But how do you know when you're dealing with a truly toxic person as opposed to merely problematic? And if you're dealing with a toxic person, how do you distance yourself before it is too late? Now, it goes without saying that toxic behavior of all stripes are a problem. They can drain your mental health and emotional resources, hijack your sense of self, infect your mood and outlook on life, create stress and unhappiness, make you doubt your feelings and experiences, slow or sabotage your progress, and pull you away from healthy, empowering, uplifting relationships. Toxic relationships can are also hard on your body. In fact, studies have shown that people in adverse close relationships have a greater risk of heart disease. Researchers have found that hostile marital interaction can even slow wound healing and affect the stress and conflict on deep sleep, on sleep quality. The immune system and adrenaline production are well documented. So, interacting with toxic people, whether it's a casual relationship or a dysfunctional friend or an intimate relationship with a problematic partner, has a profound effect in our physical and mental health. Those impacts in turn shape the way that we show up in those relationships, creating a powerful and often worrisome feedback loop. So I'm just going to skip the next paragraph and just go. So when you're dealing with toxic possessive boss, a manipulative friend, or a pessimistic cousin, jealous partner, or spiteful colleague, that toxicity almost directly having certainly having an effect. Now, either be feeding toxic responses in you. If you're ever grown pessimistic after being hang out with a bitter colleague, or if you have lashed out at a partner for being chewed out at a boss, then you know how toxicity can travel like a virus, like across relationships. So what we're going to do is we're going to talk about the signs of a toxic relationship. So these are the signs that indicate they disrespect your boundaries. Toxic people struggle to honor other people's limits. In fact, coming up against a firm boundary often provokes them into acting even more aggressively. A sign, of course, that the boundary was necessary in the first place. But healthy, well-adjusted people can acknowledge people's appropriate limits, even those limits that make them feel angry or hurt. A toxic person would tend to keep challenging negativity neg- neg- and violating your boundaries in order to maintain their access. In many cases, they know they experience that they will eventually wear you down, which only reinforces their behavior. They are manipulative or controlling. Toxic often takes the form of manipulation and control. To that toxic person, relationships are even true relationship based on mutual love and respect, but a means to an end. That end could be any further number of things: a sense of humor, a gratification from directing another person's action, reassurance that they're liked and needed, or access to material benefit. If you feel that you're being used as a pawn in a larger strategy or as a means to an end on your own expense, then you're probably caught up in a toxic sin dynamic. Sometimes manipulation and control are hard to notice, but especially in the beginning, you have to be very tuned into your own emotional response to recognize the pattern. Another thing is, of course, they lie. Generally speaking, toxic people are not friendly with reality. They either maintain a separate reality, a created narrative, self-created narrative in which their needs and interests dominate. To that end, they might twist facts, hide information, or overtly lie to the people around them and even to themselves. When confronted, they resist and only up to their deceit, even stronger though, when it's about small things, whether they're trying to manipulate the other person or enhance their reputation to secure a desired outcome or mask their shame. Toxic people rely on lies as part of of their operating system. If you ever catch someone in a deliberate lie, even about something seemingly minor, like the weekend plans or a small debt, take notice. If you ever feel that you're being co-opted into a larger narrative, especially when everyone wants me to fail, you and I have to fight these people, and so-called doesn't like you. Take a step back. You're probably dealing with a toxic person. They always have to be right. Toxic people often struggle to admit when they're wrong because the recovery that they made a mistake, even a minor one, can or hurt can another person too threatening to their ego. To preserve their unacceptability, they often justify the behavior. Well, I had to lie about the job offer to be treated fairly, deny another person's perspective. You only being oversensitive, over, overprotective witness or shame into others while you're the one who bang, bang. Okay. They're always the victim. A toxic corollary the need to be right is the tendency to play the victim. In a world where they can't be wrong, dysfunctional people will often default to being in the wrong party. Let's take a drink. If someone appropriately challenges them, they tend to experience that their challenge is an accusation or attack. If the situation doesn't go their way, they tend to attribute their failure to other people or forces. When healthy people experience an injury or a setback, susses out their role in the situation and then identify the pieces they can work on. A toxic person immediately shifts into self-pitying, woe is me mode. The problem is out there, and the priority is to feel validated, comforted, and secure. The worldwide the worldview serves a few purposes to enhance their identity, generate sympathy, or attention and letting off the hook because toxic people, generally speaking, also struggle to take any real accountability for their actions. They are judgmental. All human beings are judgmental. Having opinion is just part of our wiring. But a toxic person embraces and acts on those judgments to a problematic degree. They tend to view the world through a very rigid lens, usually negative and self-serving opinions. They struggle to approach other people with empathy, curiosity, and openness. As a result, criticizing and gossiping are almost a sport to them. Of course, that criticism or gossip usually serves to boost their self-esteem or mask their envy by eliminating another person. Extremely toxic people will then act on those judgments in a dysfunctional way by mistaking them for the truth, inappropriately expressing them to other people, or using them to achieve occasional ends. Unsurprisingly, they rarely praise or celebrate others, unless, of course, doing so will benefit them. Being casually or occasionally judgment isn't a toxic thing. We'll engage in judgment from time to time, but when the person is constantly and unkindly judges other people and situations and struggles to appreciate another angle on them, when when this quality becomes toxic, of course, judgment is often a projected expression of their own shame and self-love. They're all take and no give. Toxic relationships are predicted with one key objective: self-enhancement. To the toxic person, a relationship isn't a healthy, dynamic, generous vehicle or shared value. It's a parasitical, one-sided arrangement des- designed to fulfill the toxic party's interests. Toxic people will take any form of value they need: time, energy, attention, affection, mental possessions, expertise, pleasure, and social status, and even in other relationships in return. They offer very little. Every decision they make in the relationship is designed to preserve access to those goods they most want. I'm just going to skip a little bit. They leave you feeling drained. If one of those toxic behavior are tricky to spot in other people, it might be helpful to consider the last symptom: how a toxic person make you feel. Truly toxic people have a way of making you feel drained and diminished. You have less physical and mental energy after spending time with them, not more. They also have a profound effect on your sense of self. They often leave you feeling on how demoralized, unconfident, unsteady, or unappreciated. Sometimes it's their own ideas that affect you. For example, when you notice yourself adapting to the same negative thoughts to a toxic behavior. Okay, so I'm just going to go on ahead. Reading these telltale signs of a toxic person, you might be struggling to figure out exactly who in your life is truly problematic. That's one of the tricky things about recognizing a toxic person. They don't always neatly fall into these categories of are constantly exhibiting these traits. For example, what you do about a colleague who wants you once your sales leaves out, but back up when you harm and tell them no. How do you deal with an aunt who gossip about you behind your back, but generally seems to contrite when you confront her? What about the neighbor who constantly complains that the tenants are getting up on her, but is generally compassion towards other people? Human beings are complex. They don't always conform to neat theories and tidy categories. Some people are overtly undeniably toxic, which makes it easier to spot. But when even more people exhibit shades of toxicity or degrees of dysfunction, this can be tough to expose. Still others, and this includes most healthy people too, have moments or periods of toxicity. The unkindness opinion fossilized into damaging judgment, a sense of helplessness, developing a victim mentality. There is no easy answer here. The psychology of toxicity is complicated, to be sure. That's good. Excuse me. Cutting out a toxic person. Everyone has a different threshold for difficult behavior, and every relationship comes with its own standards and expectations. A toxic sibling, for example, might deserve several chances to correct their behavior, whereas you don't need to think twice about distancing yourself from a toxic stranger. A toxic relationship with a parent might still require some contact for practical reasons, while a toxic friend can make no claim on your time or energy. Setting up Setting and context matter too. For example, you might still need to interact with a toxic colleague in the course of your job. Cutting out completely might be impactful and possibly damaging your performance. Similarity, you might have to tolerate a toxic cousin if it means spending time with the family members you love, or put up with a toxic ex if it means sharing custody with your child. Sometimes we just don't have the luxury of cutting off a problematic person completely. Sometimes cutting a toxic person is a matter of degrees. So now we're going to determine the degrees of distance. As we see, cutting off toxic person doesn't always require formal and total breakup. Again, the relationship, the content, and the setting will play a big role in what relationships should look like. For example, cutting a person who might mean you pulling back on the amount of time you spend with them without formally notifying them of their decision. That also means we categorize it then in your mind so that you're clear with yourself about what your expectations and feelings. Often approaching this drawing hard boundaries around your time and energy to allow a functional relationship with a difficult person without exposing you to their negativity. In some cases, like a toxic colleague or work in a dangerous partner in your personal life, it might be dealing with the person's unclaimed or through an intermediary. So I'm just going to go to the next article, maxing draw a boundary. Get clear on what you want this toxic relationship to look like going forward. Do you want no contact with at all? Some contact, but with the limits. Know that you and other persons do the same. The same amount of contact as before, but with healthier needs and clear expectations. As we see, every toxic relationship requires a different approach. But whatever you change, you feel you need to you have to enhance that change with the help of strong boundaries. Boundaries can include limits on your time, energy, and emotional availability, the subjects you and other people discuss, the behavior or language you will tolerate, the nature of intimacy of your relationship, the practical rules of engagement, and the standard and expectations you have, and the way that you will or won't resolve future conflicts. Basically, boundaries set the terms of the new relationship you are creating. They are the rules from your point of view. The red line demarcate what you will and won't put up with. So, the nature of your relationship and the stakes of the decision to cut someone off will determine the best medium for the news. If you are breaking up with a toxic person, friend, or parent that might deserve an in-person conversation, assuming, of course, that they're seeing the person face to face won't put you in a serious physical or emotional risk. Sometimes meeting in a public place like a restaurant or park is a smart decision. It prevents the toxic person from becoming hostile or violent. Also, if things take a turn for the worse, you can always simply leave and there will always be plenty of witnesses around. If you are distancing yourself from a new acquaintance or colleague, then a brief email or text would be appropriate. And in some cases, that might even be the best course of action, since written communication is used for documentation in workplace conflicts and legal situations. In some exceptional cases, you might need to deliver the news through an intermediary. For example, you ask a friend to tell a dangerous partner that you're moving on, or your boss needs to tell an permanent employee to stay away from you. Just consider risk involved in bringing a third party into the equation. In general, your best bet is to communicate in a way that best reflects the relationship you have with the person, allows you to express yourself in the most clear and safely, and accomplish your objective. While it's important to know the reasons for cutting someone off, you don't always need to explain those reasons fully to the other party. Sometimes overtly justifying your decision will only provoke a toxic person further, or signal to them that you're not entirely secure in your choice. So when you make the decision to pull back, get clear on how much information you need to provide. It's perfectly acceptable to tell a person that you're not comfortable in the relationship you have and that you need to redefine it. You don't necessarily need to explain every nuance of the dishes, every nook and cranny of your feeling, every time at the talking point in your explanation. Calling to a toxic person is not a trial by trial negotiation. It's situations uh, that you get to communicate your terms. In general, the best policy is to be brief, respectable, and simple. If you have noticed that the other person break the news in a calm, non-confrontational way, focus on the most basic facts. Then you decided not to have much contact with them based on certain primary behaviors. And resist the urge to get too much, go into too much detail. Now, of course, toxic people are going to have some sort of response. And a minute, then they're probably angry, hurt, or threatened by this assertion. In severe cases, they might violate the new boundary to maintain relationship you had before. If a toxic person is wrestling with a mental illness, that person a, a, this, a personality disorder, say, they might even become more obsessed with you. The thought of not having access to you will be intolerable, and they will fight tooth and nail to preserve the connection you just broken. So when you cut a toxic person off, be prepared for any range of reactions. Remember that their response is not a referendum decision. Their feelings don't dictate whether or not you have the right to redefine the relationship. You also have to prepare for feelings that are not feelings um, keep up to you, such as guilt, shame, and fear. Those feelings are uh, not an indication that you have done something wrong. They're almost always an indication that you're rewriting an old script, and the feeling of standing up for yourself so foreign that is giving rise to a new and complex feelings. Hold your boundaries. Drawing boundaries with a toxic person is a huge step in the right direction, but it's only half the battle. The other half is maintaining those boundaries. As we saw, toxic people have a tendency to challenge boundaries either in study, subtly, or overtly. You may have to be prepared to defend the line you've drawn, whether that means limiting your amount of time spent with them, keeping them at the same targets, or experiences off limits, or having no content whatsoever. No, I'm just going because I'm just skipping forward. You never be completely free of toxic people, patterns, or situations. You can expect to encounter dysfunction. Whenever you go, whether it is in your social life, your office, your family, your neighbor, or at large, toxicity is everywhere. That means only reliable way to eliminate or at least reduce toxicity is manage your response to it. Exactly. And we're gonna park it here. So what these are strategies how to deal with toxic people, which means setting up boundaries, making sure that you communicate those boundaries. It also may need reducing your interaction with these people. So I'm sorry. So what's to take? You determine how you're going to deal with with toxic behavior. You can you can limit your involvement, or you can, whenever it's necessary, avoid it altogether. Thus, be prepared that people are going to challenge your boundaries. Okay, so what I'm going to do is it looks like I'm not going to have any further comments, so I'm going to start to wrap this up. So, in conclusion, when it comes to dealing with toxic people, I mean, it has, it do cause many effects of in your health if you allow it to happen. So, by either limiting your interaction and setting clear boundaries, you're taking control over your own mental well-being. So, in any case, the next time I'm going to be live will be on Wednesday, same time. Where I'll be talking about how to create a successful platform. So, this is going to be based on my own personal experiences and somewhat what other people successfully created their channels. So, of course, the playback end, do your own thing, and do your comments. You're more than welcome to share as long as you use this for educational purposes, as not to attack me. And of course, we're gonna close out. Okay. Oh, I didn't even see. Good evening, Gigi. I didn't even see. Oh, okay. How are you doing tonight? So, tonight we're talking about avoiding toxic behavior, toxic people. Okay. I mean, we all know what it is to deal with people that they love to play the victim, people who are incapable of taking accountability for their actions, and their inability to have develop any self empathy towards others. So it's basically me first, me second, me third. Okay. So there's some people. Oh, I see we have a guest. So let me just state for the record that the views of those who appear on the panel are not necessarily those of the host of the channel. Any attempt to copy material without the consent of the host is prohibited. By appearing on the call, you waive your right to your image. Some of the views that people hold may be offensive to some viewers. If you do not like the content, you can block the channel. And now we're going to bring in our guest. Good evening, Gigi.
Hey, hear me?
Yes, how you doing tonight?
Good. How are you?
Oh, I'm doing fine. I'm just, getting into the topic avoiding toxic people.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I just got on here and I saw you was live, so I guess you were at the end or whatever.
Yeah, I mean, look, the fact of the matter is, we all know that there's certain people that we deal with, okay, that they are self-centered and they don't respect your boundaries. When you try to, explain to them and set the boundaries that you establish, they get into victim mode and they don't take accountability because we all know that for some people accountability is like kryptonite.
Yes, yes. I relate to all of that for sure. So what were your tips on
So
avoiding toxic people, Jose?
set boundaries, making
Hmm.
communicating effectively. There's certain people that you cannot avoid completely because there may be family members, there may be colleagues that you have to depend upon. So what you do in those situations is you limit your exposure and just keep it on a professional level.
Yeah, absolutely. If you can
Um,
avoid it, avoid it. If not, move accordingly.
exactly.
Yeah.
And the fact of the matter is, we cannot avoid completely toxic behavior. Toxic behavior, it's always going to be there, um, because people act that way.
Yes, it's a part of human nature. And we're in a
Yes.
space on social media where people watch it for entertainment, so there's that part as well. So it's just probably more prevalent prevalent to people like us than regular people.
Yes.
Because
Of
I don't
course,
have
we
like a
all
lot of
know that.
toxic people in real life. Just like a couple.
Yeah. Of course, we all know that we have to deal with certain individuals that are basically keyboard warriors. That if you were to confront them in real life, they wouldn't act the same way.
Yeah. It's, like you said, keyboard warriors, people behind the screen, so can't really take it too seriously.
No, I mean, look, and of course, they try to elicit a response. Okay, because when you respond, basically, what you're doing is you're enabling them to continue the behavior. Again,
Hmm.
I said it before, but it's very true. You cannot control what other people say or do. You control what's going to be your response.
Exactly. And and you talking about boundaries. I set a boundary on YouTube where I'm like, hey, I'm not fighting with you people. Like, say whatever you want to say, but I'm not doing like I did before. Like, I'm not interested.
Yeah, I mean, look, I call these people attention seeking whores because basically they just love attention no matter what. Even negative attention, they love it.
Yeah. I'd
I
prefer
mean,
not to
look,
get negative attention at this point, though. Been there, done that.
yeah,
Sometimes it happens, though. It's like unavoidable in these YouTube streets because, Jose, you go around, you hit a panel, and shit can go left with, all different types of people. You just never know. But yeah, try to avoid all that. That's a way to avoid toxic people is to not argue with them on the internet.
yeah. And of course, people have paint all sorts of narratives about us, far too numerous to state.
Yeah. Unfortunately, that's another part of YouTube. Everything's
Actually, I
content,
think,
even lies.
I think it also applies to a certain extent to like TikTok, maybe Facebook. I don't know, but I mean,
Yeah, yeah, they definitely got their own stuff going on over there. I just speak from a point of YouTube. That's the only one that I really do. You know what I mean?
I hear you. I hear you. Well, I really did enjoy my time in Atlanta. I had a wonderful time.
Oh, that's good.
Well, yeah, it's just that while I was no, attending, I was in the conference, and of course they asked us to please not to post anything on social media about it because due to the nature of the conference, and actually, believe it or not, some of the people spoke. They were doing this to their own personal risk because we're dealing with people who actually gotten themselves arrested on false charges.
Mm, what does that mean? For what?
Okay, okay, and okay, I'll highlight this is a situation of which one of the speakers shared that she was driving and she was
She
stopped
was what?
over for she was
Oh,
driving.
driving. Okay.
Yeah, and then she was stopped for an alleged vehicle violation. Somehow it escalated to her being incarcerated, being arrested, and being held in the detention center for several weeks because unfortunately the person was undocumented. She was brought to the United States um, as a child from a Latin American country. So she was incarcerated. She was in the detention center, and it took her weeks before she was released.
So it was like a conference about like people that had bad experiences with like ice and stuff.
That's part of it. It's just basically it was a conference that was geared to the Latino community, and of course
Oh,
among many of the different challenges is the challenges being brought about by the current administration.
yeah.
And I'm
Uh-huh.
not going to go anything further because we all know that people look at Trump differently. Some people think that he is the greatest president ever. Other thinks he's a complete scumbag. People have their opinions. People are entitled to their opinions.
Yeah, yeah. Okay. So, I mean, that must have been interesting though to hear like a bunch of different stories and stuff though, and perspectives.
Yeah, it does. Of course, I have it. Of course, being a Latino, I have it. I have a different perspective, which is okay. Now I get that people they leave their country for multiple reasons, um, and they're trying to get a new life, and sometimes people they don't go from the country illegally. You need to do everything possible to legalize your status. And my issue is when you have individual who's been undocumented for several years and they are living in cities where there are resources where they can get help to legalize their status and they don't take advantage of it.
But you ain't saying this at them conferences though, Jose.
No, I didn't say it, but one thing I learned that the
That might
places
not have
you
went
gotta
over that
stay.
well.
And it's no, it's no, no. I've learned what to say and what not to say. But regardless,
I know, I'm just teasing you. Okay, well that's good that you have fun though.
yeah, yeah. I really enjoy myself. If you enjoy humid weather, Atlanta or any city of the South, you're gonna have your share of humid weather.
Oh, it's so hot right now. It's so hot in New York too though, right?
It it actually like the last couple of days before I left for Atlanta. Yeah, in fact, we had days close to 100 degrees.
Yeah, I saw on the news. It was like all of us, everybody was like at high heat, north and the south.
Yeah, in fact, they posted many heat advisories, advising people who are affected by the heat. Um, they be mindful of their activities and wait until like either early in the morning or in the evening to do any outdoor activities because of the high humidity.
Hmm. Yeah.
Yeah,
Well,
and yeah. Plus, I have so much stuff I have to catch up with YouTube regarding some of the other shenanigans going on.
huh?
But I said I have to do my due diligence and catch up with some of the latest tea with some of the gossip that going on in these YouTube streets. It's just that like I said, I've been away out of the loop, so to speak.
Yeah, it's
So
been dry around here. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's been pretty quiet around here lately. So,
Well, it could be either
but
maybe these
yeah, but all right,
people.
Jose, I just want to come up and say hi.
Okay, well, thank you very much. Have a good evening.
What were you,
All right.
what were you gonna say? I just think I'm lagging.
Okay, I'm just saying that maybe
Can
some of these
you hear me?
people actually, yeah, I can hear you. What I'm saying is maybe some of these people are trying to get a life together.
Well, that's always a good thing. But hey, if you want to be a content creator, you still got to make your content. So I got to make a video
That's true.
too.
That's true. Well, I'm not going to keep any further. Thank you very much for stopping by. Please give Dreamy my love.
I will, Jose. Thank you. I'll talk to you soon.
All right,
Bye,
take care.
everybody.
Bye. So, what I'm going to do is, do you want me to drop you, or you're able to drop yourself? Okay. Well, in any case, in conclusion, just be mindful. The when it comes to dealing with toxic people, sometimes you can limit your involvement. Other times, to try to avoid it completely. So, I'm going to close the same way that I always close. We must do everything possible to avoid the presence of the mentally and intellectually challenged, because if we fail to do so, we will be infected by stupidity and massive insanity. Oh, and before I forget, Irby has his own YouTube channel. So I'm going to ask that you show love and check out his content and subscribe. And the same thing applies to my friend Gigi. So I'm just going to wish all of you good night. Take care. Stay blessed. And peace.